Welcome to Strange Planet. I saw Solo. I walked in there thinking, okay, this probably is not going to be very good. It had mixed reviews. I was thinking it wasn't going to be good at all. Needless to say, I, for one, am pleasantly surprised. I had a lot of fun watching Solo. Let me tell you, it brought back so many things. You know what bugs me out about Solo? And this is a spoiler alert. This is going to be full spoilers. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, get out of here right now. Go see the movie and come back and talk to me. So, Solo, the timeline covers basically around 10-ish years before the events of Rogue One and Episode 4, A New Hope. So, we see a young Han Solo in Corellia, his place of origin. Finally, we get to see Corellia. We've always known of Corellia, and finally we're there, and we get to experience it. He had a love interest, Kira, and that was the main motivator for him to go to the Imperial Academy to so he can have access to get back to Corellia to get her out of there. Because they wanted to get all this money and go off and live the high life and be together. Of course, that didn't work out too well for him and her in the movie. So we see a few years later, 3 years later after the beginning of the film, he goes through these issues, and of course, he meets Chewbacca. We get to see how they met. I've always known of the story of how he saved him from some kind of bondage, but we've never seen exactly in what form or shape that was until this movie. I thought it was awesome. I thought the way they met was funny, and how they became very impressionable. I didn't know that Han knew how to speak Wookiee. You know, he was like... So for that part, I thought it was great. And then, it's basically a heist movie. It's no deep thing. You don't see the deeper aspects of anything that's well known in Star Wars lore. You know of the whole thing about smuggling and getting these jobs done. They go to this big time gangster. It's like this group called the Crimson Dawn, very crime lord, like mafia type organization headed by this guy named Dryden Voss, who happens to also be owning Kira. Solo runs into her in his meetings with them. Apparently she's off of Corellia and now in service to him. I also want to talk about L3. L3, sassy droid that was Lando's, that was had this interesting relationship with Lando, but when unfortunately she met her demise in the movie, Lando really grieved her, but they did something interesting, and I am so fascinated with this. They took her memory banks, her solar spirit, if you want to use it in that kind of sense, her programming, and made it one with the Falcon's system. So if you think about it, all of that stuff about the Falcon and her computers and her systems, that's F3. The Falcon, F3 still alive in a way through the Falcon. I remember this one moment in Empire Strikes Back when Han tells 3PO he needs him to talk to the Falcon about the hyperdrive issues. Talk to L3, 3PO. So I'm going to reveal a big reveal here that really bugged me out, that I was like, get out of here. Towards the end of the movie, after Dryden Voss is kind of disposed of, and Kira kind of takes his position, she contacts his boss, and it turns out to be Darth Maul. I was blown away by that. I was like, oh my god. And it works. It makes sense. He's still alive at this juncture. If you look at the events of Clone Wars, the cartoon series, and the events of Star Wars Rebels, this happens in between that. So he's alive, yeah. So we get to see him for the first time. And guess who's playing him, I found out? Ray Park. Ray Park, the same guy. The voice is by the guy who does the voice of Maul in Star Wars Rebels. But Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1 back in 1991, came back to reprise the role. Pretty cool, I like to say. Now, to be specific, it's not really Darth Maul at this juncture, it's Maul. Because if you follow the Star Wars Rebels storyline, Maul has basically disavowed the Darth title and the Sith culture, basically. So, because he felt betrayed by Palpatine and all that. So he's kind of like on his own. He's a lone wolf doing his own thing. Of course, still being a dark side user, he obviously uses that to his advantage. We see that play out in Star Wars Rebels, in his attempted seduction of Ezra and all that kind of stuff. But to see him on the screen again, even if it's in a hologram, which was in a hologram as he was talking to Kira, apparently he's the main boss of these crime underground organizations. Obviously he's trying to do what he can on the underling to undermine the Empire and the Emperor. So he has his own agenda, and we see that play out in Rebels. I thought it was great. I thought it was great seeing him. But what I really liked, honestly, was how we see Han Solo become the Han Solo we know and love. Now, let's be real. He's not Harrison Ford. Nobody's ever going to be Harrison Ford, okay? But honestly, this guy, the actor for this guy, and I can't think of his name right now, he knocked it out of the park. I thought he was great. Chewbacca was, again, Chewbacca. Not Peter Matthews, but nonetheless, awesome Chewbacca. And, it was good. The movie was just so much fun. It had so much action, so much excitement, and oh my God, and so many Easter eggs all over the place. Donald Glover's role as Lando Calrissian, as a young Lando Calrissian, that was so awesome. And we get to see Han winning the Millennium Falcon off of him. I thought that was so awesome. We always knew of the story, we always knew of it, but we never saw it happen until this movie. There's a lot of things we didn't see. We've always heard of, but we see in this movie. Like, for instance, the Kessel Run, 12 parsecs. Not 14. Ray thought it was 14. Not 20, because that was the minimum that a ship was able to go through the Kessel Run. We didn't know what the Kessel Run was. I thought it was a race or something. Apparently not. Here's another thing that I've always known about Star Wars. I've known for years. They were in an area that they called the Mall. And I was like, when they said that, I was like, the Mall? Oh, snap, you gotta get out of there. The Mall is in Star Wars lore, and now it's obviously canon because it's in the movie, a series of black holes, wormholes, strong gravitational pulls, sucking every kind of matter to it. If you're into the science of it, you know what a black hole does. And you see how Han and Lando and the crew of the Millennium Falcon at that scene deal with that issue. I thought it was great. I thought that, I got to see the Mall. I was like, ooh, are they going to see the Death Star? Because according to Star Wars lore, they were building the Death Star in that area, in the Mall area. But whatever. And the dice. The golden dice that we... you know what's funny? I got to go back and look at the first Star Wars film to see if I see that dice hanging there in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon back in 1977. Because until The Last Jedi, Episode 8, I didn't know about that dice. It must have been such a small detail that I never noticed until now. So, this should be interesting. Mention of Gang Lord in Tatooine looking for people to work for him. We know who that is. So, I loved Solo, and I give Solo 4 moons going around the strange planet. I enjoyed it that much. It was awesome. Ron Howard knocked it out of the park. Thank you, Ron Howard. You never let me down, man. You always make these good movies. Dude, awesome. Thank you. And I hope that by making this movie, we can continue to make these anthology films carefully, and I'm going to talk about that in another show. So what are your thoughts about Solo, A Star Wars Story? Talk to me. Comment below and share with me your thoughts about how we saw Han Solo become Han Solo, how he got his name, how he met Chewbacca, how he beat the Kessel Run, and how he won the Falcon off of Lando Calrissian. By the way, that ship looked nice and slick and clean. Boy, Lando was not happy when that ship got all messed up. Now we know how it got all dirtied up. This is Ralph Perez from Strange Planet. Take care.